What seemed like a simple family argument turned into a terrifying nightmare. The daughter we loved pushed us off a cliff. We were silenced. But what she did next, no one could have imagined. San Diego is a city bathed in sun with breathtaking landscapes. Life seemed perfect for our family. My husband, John, has always been a hard-working man, and I strive to be a watchful and loving mother and wife. We raised our daughter Isabella with so much love. But, unfortunately, Isabella holds a secret and a fear that consumes her thoughts. A secret that made her take a life-altering decision. It was an unthinkable act that will leave many breathless. Like, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from, because what's coming will shake you. Prepare for the unexpected. The smell of freshly brewed coffee filled the entire kitchen as I prepared our family's breakfast. It was a Tuesday morning in La Jolla, and the Californian sun already promised another perfect day in our upscale San Diego neighborhood. The Pacific waves broke softly on the coast, just a few blocks from our house, creating that relaxing soundtrack that made me wake up smiling every day. My name is Carla, I'm 45, and for 17 years I believed I had the most perfect life anyone could wish for. A cozy house with an ocean view, a dedicated and successful husband, and a daughter who was quite literally the girl of my dreams, Isabella, my Izzy. 17 years of pure joy, brilliant intelligence, stellar grades, and that smile that melted any heart. Good morning, love of my life. John appeared in the kitchen, adjusting the navy blue tie that perfectly matched his eyes. At 48, my husband still made me feel like a lovesick teenager. A successful corporate lawyer, he had a confident way of walking that made me feel protected and loved. The gray at his temples only made him more charming. Good morning, honey. The coffee's fresh, I replied, feeling his arms wrap around me from behind as I stirred the scrambled eggs. His scent, that mix of sandalwood and something masculine I couldn't quite place, always calmed me. Where's our princess? He asked, kissing the back of my neck in a way that still gave me goosebumps after 20 years together. She must be finishing up. You know how much of a perfectionist she is about everything. And it was true. Isabella had always been meticulous in everything she did. Since she was little, she organized her toys by color and size. In school, she was at the top of her class. In sports, she was the captain of the swim team. At 17, she already had 3 universities vying for her early admission. I felt like the luckiest mother in the world. The sound of footsteps coming down the wooden stairs echoed through the house. Isabella appeared in the kitchen, and as always, my heart swelled with pride. Her straight, silky brown hair fell over her shoulders. Her skin was tanned from the Californian sun, and she had those green eyes she inherited from her father. She wore her school uniform with the same natural elegance she had for everything in life. "Good morning, my beautiful daughter," John said, opening his arms for a morning hug. Isabella approached, but something was different. The hug was too quick, perfunctory. She avoided both our gazes and went straight to the fridge, grabbing a bottle of water. "Aren't you going to have breakfast, sweetie?" I asked, putting a plate with her favorite scrambled eggs on the table. "I made them just the way you like, extra creamy." "I'm not hungry," she replied, fiddling with her phone with an intensity that caught my attention. Her fingers slid across the screen with urgency, as if she was responding to something very important, or very secret. John and I exchanged a look, one of those knowing glances between a couple that speaks 1,000 words. Something felt off, but we couldn't pinpoint what it was. "Izzy, are you okay?" I insisted, sitting next to her at the kitchen table. "You seem a little distant."
The love that seemed like
"I'm
a
fine,
rock
Mom.
turned
Just a
to
little
sand in my
tired,"
hand.
she replied without looking up from her phone. But I knew my daughter
A
better
whisper
than
from
anyone.
John.
That wasn't the voice of the
Pretend
Isabella I
to be
raised.
dead.
There was something cold in it, something
But the
that gave me a
truth, my
sinking
love, is
feeling.
that there was no blood in
John
the
checked the gold watch on his wrist and
order.
sighed.
The fall from the cliff
"I have
was
to go.
nothing
I have an important
compared
meeting
to
at 9.
what our daughter
He kissed
hid.
my
Was
forehead
it the
and then
daughter-in-law?
turned to
No,
Isabella.
our own flesh and blood.
"Bye,
To
Princess.
whom our
Dad loves you."
was given.
Isabella mumbled something that sounded like "bye" without looking up. John hesitated for a second, clearly bothered by his daughter's coldness, but ended up leaving so he wouldn't be late. We were left alone in the kitchen. The silence was so thick I could hear the wall clock ticking every second. Isabella continued furiously typing on her phone, completely ignoring my presence. "Honey, did something happen at school? Any problems with your friends?" I tried again, placing my hand on hers. She pulled away immediately as if my touch burned her. "Mom, stop being so dramatic. Everything's normal," she replied with an irritation in her voice she had never directed at me before. "Can I go to school now?" I wanted to insist. I wanted to understand what was happening with my little girl, but something told me to back off. Maybe it was just a late teenage phase. Maybe I was overreacting. Of course not. "Do you want me to drive you?" "No need. I'm going with Emma," she said, putting her phone in her backpack and getting up from the table in a hurry. "Bye," and she left. Just like that, without a kiss, without a hug, without that "I love you, Mom," she always said before leaving for school. I stood alone in the kitchen, looking at the untouched plate of scrambled eggs and feeling a tightness in my chest I couldn't explain. It was as if a shadow had passed over our perfect world, and I had no idea where it would come from. But I had a surprise planned for Isabella. I had spent weeks organizing an intimate party to celebrate her early admission to Stanford University, which had arrived the week before. I invited a few close family friends, ordered a custom cake with the university's logo, and even bought her a beautiful dress to wear for the occasion. Maybe this party was exactly what we needed to get back to normal, to recover that connection we had always had, to make my Izzy go back to being the affectionate, communicative daughter I knew while washing the breakfast dishes. I mentally planned everything was nothing. The white flowers she loved, the playlist with her favorite songs, and most important, that special mother-daughter moment I missed so much. What I didn't know was that this party would reveal much more than I was prepared to discover about my perfect daughter. 3 days later, our house was transformed. Gold and white balloons decorated the living room, the scent of fresh roses hung in the air, and the table was set with our best china. The party to celebrate Isabella's acceptance to Stanford was perfect, exactly as I had planned. The guests arrived promptly at 7 in the evening. My sister Clara and her husband, the next-door neighbors, the Petersons, a few close family friends, and even Isabella's chemistry teacher, Mr. Martinez, who always said she was the most brilliant student he'd ever had. Everyone was excited to celebrate our prodigy. "Where's the college student?" Clara asked, looking around the decorated room. "I can't wait to hug her." "She must be getting ready," I replied, trying to hide the anxiety in my voice. Isabella had gotten home from school 2 hours ago and locked herself in her room, saying she needed to get ready. But something about her tone had made me uneasy. John appeared beside me, whispering in my ear. "Have you called me?" "I've called 3 times. She said she's coming." Another 15 minutes passed. Conversations flowed, champagne was poured, But the guest of honor's absence was becoming awkward. I went up the wooden stairs that creaked slightly under my feet and knocked on her bedroom door.
Izzy,
sweetie, everyone's waiting for you. I'm coming. Her voice was muffled from inside the room, but there was something in it I couldn't identify. A coldness, a contained irritation. When she finally came down the stairs, Isabella was unrecognizable. Not physically. She looked beautiful as always, wearing the blue dress I had bought especially for the occasion. But there was something in her eyes, something vacant, as if she were present, but also a million miles away. My darling, Clara approached with open arms. Congratulations on Stanford. I'm so proud of you. Isabella accepted the hug, but it was like watching a robot executing a program. A mechanical smile, an automatic response. Thank you, Aunt Clara. Throughout the party, I watched my daughter with growing concern. She answered questions politely, smiled when necessary, but it was as if there were a glass wall between her and the rest of the room. When Mr. Martinez tried to talk about her plans for Stanford, Isabella gave monosyllabic answers and found an excuse to walk away. She seems a little distant today, Mrs. Peterson commented to me as we cut the cake. Teenage troubles? I think so, I lied, feeling a knot in my stomach. You know how it is, a lot of changes ahead. But deep in my heart, I knew it wasn't just that. Something deeper was going on with Isabella, and I was starting to get desperate to find out what. That's when John appeared beside me, holding a photo he had found behind the living room sofa. His expression was tense. Wait, Carla, come here for a second, he whispered, pulling me to a more private corner of the room. The photo showed Isabella smiling, but it wasn't the genuine smile I knew. It was forced, almost frightening. She was surrounded by a group of people I had never seen before. Young, but with a look that made me uncomfortable. Dark clothes, visible tattoos, and most importantly, their eyes. A look that seemed to know secrets they shouldn't. Who are these people? I asked, feeling my heart race. I have no idea. I've never seen Isabella with them, John replied, turning the photo over to examine it better. Look at the date on the back. It was taken last week. The same week Isabella started behaving strangely. The same week my perfect daughter began to turn into a stranger. Maybe they're just new friends from school, I tried to rationalize. But my voice was weak without conviction. Carla, look at them. These people are at least in their mid-20s. What would Isabella be doing with people that age? Before we could continue the conversation, Isabella appeared out of nowhere beside us. Her eyes immediately fixed on the photo in John's hands, and for a split second, I saw something that chilled me to the bone. Panic. Pure panic. What are you doing? She asked, trying to keep her voice calm, but I noticed the almost imperceptible tremor. We found this photo that fell behind the sofa, John explained, holding the image out to her. Who are these people, honey? Isabella took the photo with slightly trembling hands. For a moment she just stared at the picture, and I could see a silent war happening behind her green eyes. They're just friends, she finally said, but her voice sounded hollow. I met them at a party a few weeks ago. What party? I insisted. You didn't tell me about any party. Mom, I'm 17. I don't need to report my every move to you, Isabella replied. And this time, the coldness in her voice was unmistakable. The tension in the air was so thick it seemed to make it hard to breathe. The guests continued talking in the living room, oblivious to the silent drama unfolding between the three of us. Isabella, we're just worried. John tried to soften the situation. You've been acting differently lately, and now this photo with people we don't know. Differently how? She interrupted. And there was something dangerous in her tone. Do you want me to be your perfect little girl forever? Never grow up, never have my own life? That's not it, I tried to explain, feeling tears welling up in my eyes. It's just that you've always talked to us about. We've always been close. Isabella laughed, but it was a bitter sound, without any of the joy I associated with my daughter. Maybe I just discovered there are things you don't need to know about. And with that devastating sentence, she turned and went up the stairs, leaving John and me in deafening silence. The party continued around us, but for us, the world had stopped. 2 hours later, when the last guest left and we started cleaning up, I realized Isabella hadn't come down from her room. I went up the stairs again. But this time, I found her door locked. Izzy, can you open the door, please? I just want to talk. I'm tired of talking now. Good night. I stood there, looking at that wooden door as if it were an impassable wall. On the other side was my daughter. But for the first time in 17 years, I felt like I didn't know her anymore. When I went back to the living room, John was sitting on the sofa, still holding the mysterious photo. His face reflected the same despair I felt. "What's happening to our girl?" he asked, more to himself than to me. I had no answer. All I knew was that the party that was supposed to be a celebration had turned into the beginning of a nightmare, and something told me that photo was just the tip of a much more terrifying iceberg than I could ever imagine. 2 weeks passed since the party, and the tension in our house was almost palpable. Isabella barely spoke to me or John, leaving the house earlier and earlier and coming back later and later. Her excuses were always vague: group studies, school projects, meetings with friends she never named. It was a rainy Thursday when my life completely fell apart. Isabella had rushed out of the house earlier, claiming she had an important presentation at school. But something was different. She seemed nervous, almost desperate, and in her haste, she forgot her cell phone charging on the kitchen counter. Initially, I tried to ignore the device that constantly vibrated on the phone. I respected my daughter's privacy, even with all the strange changes. But after the 10th vibration in 5 minutes, my maternal concern got the better of me. The messages I saw on the lock screen chilled my blood. It's today. You can't fail. You have to disappear forever. Remember what will happen to you if you don't do this. My heart pounded. With trembling hands, I tried to unlock the phone. Isabella always used the same code. Our wedding anniversary date, something that always made me proud that she valued our family so much. But now, as the numbers appeared on the screen, I felt like I was violating something sacred. What I found made me collapse into the kitchen chair. Endless conversations with a contact, saved only as V. The most recent messages were chilling. Your family will always get in the way as long as they're alive. You know what you have to do. It's the only way out. The spot we agreed on is perfect. No one will suspect an accident. But the message that completely destroyed me was right below. Getting rid of your mom and dad, once and for all, is the only way for you to be free. They'll never stop questioning. They'll never leave you in peace. It's them or you, and Isabella's answer, I know. It's going to be this way. I already have everything planned. My vision blurred. The phone slipped from my hands and fell onto the kitchen floor with a dry thud. For a moment, I thought I was going to faint. My own daughter, my Isabella, was planning to do this. I couldn't process what I was reading. It was as if my brain refused to accept those words. How could the girl I carried in my arms, who I taught to walk, who I comforted through every nightmare, be thinking of taking my life? The sound of the front door brought me back to reality. Isabella had returned. Quickly, I picked the phone up off the floor and put it back on the charger, trying to pretend I hadn't touched it. "Mom, I forgot my phone," she said into the kitchen. But when her eyes met mine, she stopped. "Are you okay?" I tried to force a smile, but I knew I couldn't hide the glitter in my eyes. "I'm fine, sweetie. Just a little tired." Isabella watched me for a few more seconds, as if she was analyzing whether I was lying. Then she picked up her phone and quickly checked the messages. I saw the exact moment she realized someone had been on the device. Her eyes narrowed and an expression I'd never seen before crossed her face. "How many messages came in?" she asked, her voice dangerously calm. "I don't know, sweetie. I wasn't paying attention." "Liar." The word came out like a slap. "You went through my phone." My heart was beating so hard I was sure she could hear it. "Isabella, you read the messages." It wasn't a question. It was an accusation. The silence between us was deafening. I could feel the adrenaline rushing through my veins. The survival instinct screaming for me to run. But it was my daughter, my baby. How could I be afraid of her? "Who is V, Isabella?" I managed to ask, my voice coming out as a whisper. Something changed in her eyes. The coldness I had been noticing in recent weeks intensified, transforming into something that made me instinctively repel. "You shouldn't have read that. Isabella, these messages, they talk about killing us, about making it look like an accident." My voice was trembling uncontrollably. "Please, tell me it's just a sick joke." Isabella laughed. It was a sound that made my skin crawl from head to toe, because there was nothing of my daughter in that laugh. It was cruel, cold, calculating. "A joke?" she repeated, slowly approaching me. "You think this is a joke? So it's true?" The words came out as only. "You're really planning to kill you?" Isabella finished, her voice terrifyingly casual. "Yes, it was supposed to be this weekend. A romantic hike for you at Torrey. A tragic slip. A terrible accident. My world completely fell apart. I leaned against the kitchen wall to keep from falling, feeling as if the floor had opened up beneath my feet. "Why?" was all I could whisper. "Why would you do this to us? We love you more than anything." For a moment I saw something different in Isabella's eyes. A shadow of pain, conflict. But it disappeared so quickly I thought I had imagined it. Because you'll never leave me alone. You'll never stop asking questions, wanting to control my life. And there are people who will hurt me a lot if I don't do this. "What people? Who is V? Who's forcing you to—" "Stop!" Isabella screamed, banging her fist on the kitchen counter. "You can't run from the truth, Mom, not anymore. I'm not your perfect little brother anymore. I never will be again." Tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. "Isabella, whatever is happening, we can fix it. We can get help, talk to the police." "The police?" Isabella laughed again. "You don't understand anything. If I don't do what they want, I'm the one who dies. It's that simple. Then let's run. We can leave town, change our names, start a new life somewhere else." "It doesn't work that way." Isabella shook her head, and for the first time since the conversation started, I saw tears forming in her eyes. They would find me angry, and when they did, it would be worse for all of us. The sound of the garage door opening echoed through the house. John was coming home from work. Isabella and I looked at each other, and in that moment I saw that she was as terrified as I was. "Don't tell him," she whispered desperately. "Please, Mom, not yet." Isabella, promise me. Just for today. I'll explain everything tomorrow. John walked into the kitchen with his usual smile, but stopped immediately when he saw our expressions. What's going on here? He asked, looking from me to Isabella. You two look like you've seen a ghost. Isabella quickly composed herself, wiping her eyes and forcing a smile. Just some teenage drama, Dad. Nothing to worry about. But I couldn't stop trembling. I was looking at my husband, the man I had loved for 20 years, knowing that our own daughter had planned to kill him. And the worst part was that for some incomprehensible reason, I had promised to keep that secret. That night was the longest of my life. Lying beside John, who slept peacefully, unaware that our daughter had planned to murder him, I felt like I was carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the messages on Isabella's phone. The words burned in my mind like a branding iron. It's them or you. Getting rid of your mom and dad once and for all. How had it come to this? How could the child who used to climb into our bed on Sunday mornings, who made drawings to put on the fridge, who called me the best mom in the world, have turned into someone capable of planning our murder? At 3 in the morning, I gave up trying to sleep. I got up silently from the bed and walked to Isabella's room. The door was ajar, and I could hear her deep, regular breathing. She looked so peaceful, sleeping, so innocent. It was impossible to reconcile that image with the cold, calculating girl who had confessed to planning to kill us. I went back to my room and opened the dresser drawer where I kept our family photos. My hands trembled as I flipped through album after album. Isabella at 2, smiling with chocolate on her face after eating a birthday cup. Isabella at 5, proud on her first day of school. Isabella at 10, winning a medal at the school swim meet. When I framed the photo I was looking for, I couldn't hold back the tears. It was from last Christmas, just a few months ago. Isabella was between me and John, the 3 of us hugging in front of the Christmas tree, with genuine smiles lighting up our faces. She was holding a card she had made by hand, which read, "To the best parents in the world, thank you for loving me unconditionally." The word echoed. But I still love my daughter unconditionally after discovering what she intended to do. The answer scared me, yes. Even after everything, even knowing she wanted to kill me, I still loved her desperately. And that was exactly why I needed to understand what was happening. The next morning, John left early for a conference in Los Angeles and wouldn't be back until the end of the day. It was my chance to talk to Isabella without interruptions. But when I went down to the kitchen, I found only a note stuck to the fridge. Went to school early. Science project. Isn't alive. Isabella never left me. She always did. And she hated science projects. She was clearly avoiding me. I spent the entire day in a state of almost unbearable anxiety. I tried cleaning the house, organizing papers, anything to keep my mind busy, and it was useless. Every noise made me jump, every shadow scared me. I was living a nightmare in broad daylight. That's when I decided to look for more clues. If Isabella was involved with dangerous people, maybe there was something in her room that could help me understand the situation. I knew I was violating her privacy again, but at that point, her privacy was less important than our lives. Isabella's room had always been impeccable. Every book lined up perfectly on the shelf. Every piece of clothing folded with military precision. But now, looking with different eyes, I noticed details that had gone unnoticed. The desk drawer was slightly ajar. Some clothes were wrinkled in the closet. Signs of hurry, of nervousness. Inside the drawer, I found a notebook I had never seen before. The pages were filled with notes in Isabella's handwriting, but they weren't school. names, addresses, times, and in the middle of it all, a rudimentary drawing that made my heart stop. Our neighborhood, our house, and a route marked in red, leading to Torrey Pines Cliff. Sunday 2 p.m. romantic hike. Slip at the blind spot. The words were written in Isabella's careful handwriting, but there was something mechanical about them, as if she were following someone else's instructions. Further down the page, I found something that finally made me understand the magnitude of the problem. If I don't do this, they will kill me first, then you. At least this way I can save you from suffering. An accident is faster than torture. My daughter wasn't a cold-blooded killer. She was terrified. She was trying to kill us to save us from something worse. The revelation hit me like a punch to the heart. I continued searching and found photos hidden at the back of the drawer. I immediately recognized the group from the photo John had found. But now, there were more images. Isabella in situations that made me feel sick. She was in a place that looked like an abandoned warehouse, surrounded by much older men. She had marks on her arms that were clearly not accidental, and in all the photos, her eyes held a terror I had never seen before. The last photo almost made me vomit. Isabella was kneeling on the floor of a dark place, with a man pointing something at her head. On the back of the photo, someone had written, "To remember what happens to those who disobey." Now I understood. My daughter wasn't the villain in this story. She was the victim. She was being manipulated, threatened, forced to do unimaginable things. And in her twisted mind, killing us was an act of love, a way to spare us from an even worse fate. The sound of the front door opening made me quickly put everything away. Isabella was there. I ran down the stairs, my heart pounding, not knowing how to approach what I had discovered. "Hi, Mom," she said, but her voice was different, exhausted, defeated. "Isabella, we need to talk." I know. She let herself fall onto the living room sofa, and for the first time in weeks I saw my real daughter behind that cold mask. She was broken, desperate, and clearly terrified. You found the photos, didn't you? I didn't deny it. I sat next to her, keeping a respectful distance, but showing that I was there to listen. "How long has this been going on?" I asked softly. 6 months. Her voice was a whisper. It started as something small. I met them at a party. They seemed cool, different. They made me feel grown up, special. And then I found out it wasn't an option to leave. That once you're in, you belong to them forever. Isabella started to tremble. "They did things to me, Mom. Things I'll never be able to forget." My heart broke into a million pieces. I wanted to hug her, to console her, to promise that everything would be okay. But I also knew I needed to understand the extent of the danger. What if you don't do what they want? They'll torture you in front of me before they kill the whole family. They showed me photos of other families who defied me. Isabella looked me in the eyes, and the desperation I saw there almost made me faint. "At least my way, you won't suffer." "Isabella, there's a fourth option. We can get help." "No," she shook her head violently. "They have contacts everywhere. Police, courts, even the FBI. There's nowhere to run." At that moment, I realized that my daughter had built a mental prison from which she couldn't see a way out, and that I would have very little time to find a way to save her before she did something irreversible. The next few days turned into a roller coaster of terror and anxiety. Isabella began to disappear for hours without explanation, coming home with red-rimmed eyes from crying, and new marks on her arms that she tried to hide with long sleeves. I knew they were pressuring her even more, preparing her for what they had planned. John noticed the change in the house's atmosphere, but he couldn't identify what was wrong. I saw him watching me with concern when he thought I wasn't looking. My hands trembled constantly. I could barely eat, and I woke up in a panic every night, checking if Isabella was still home. "Carla, you have to tell me what's going on," John said on a Friday morning, holding my wrists as I tried to make breakfast. "You're clearly terrified. Isabella barely talks to us. I feel like our family is falling apart, and I don't know why." I looked into the eyes of the man I loved, knowing I desperately wanted to tell him everything. But Isabella's words echoed in my mind. If we told anyone, it would be worse for all of us. It's just a difficult phase with Izzy, I lied, hating every word that came out of my mouth. You know how it is, college pressure, changes. Carla. John forced me to look at him. We've been married for 20 years. I know you better than anyone in this world. You're lying to me. Before I could respond, Isabella appeared in the kitchen, but it was no longer possible to pretend she was fine. Her face was ashen, there were deep circles under her eyes, and she moved like someone carrying an impossible weight on her shoulders. "Morning," she mumbled, grabbing an apple from the fruit bowl without making eye contact with either of us. "Isabella, are you okay?" John asked, his voice filled with maternal concern. "You look sick." "I'm fine." The response was automatic, but her voice was completely empty. "Honey, maybe we should make a doctor's appointment, or even—" "I said I'm fine!" Isabella exploded, throwing the apple on the counter with such force that it shattered. "Why can't you two just leave me alone?" John recoiled, shocked by the aggression. "Isabella, you don't have to yell. We're just worried." Isabella laughed, but it was a sound that sent a shiver down my spine. "You have no idea what it's like to have real worries." And with that, she left the house, slamming the door so hard the pictures on the wall shook. John turned to me, completely lost. "What is happening to our daughter?" I wanted to tell him. God, how I wanted to tell him. But every time I opened my mouth, I saw Isabella being tortured. I saw our family being destroyed in an even more brutal way. So I stayed silent, carrying that burden alone. 2 hours later, I received a call. Unknown number. "Hello? Mrs. Martinez." The voice was male, with an accent I couldn't identify. "I believe you know our Isabella." My blood ran cold. "Who are you?" "Someone who cares about your family's well-being. Isabella told us that you've been very curious lately." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Of course you do." There was a casual cruelty in his voice that terrified me. Finding photos, reading messages, asking inconvenient questions. Isabella is very nervous because of it. "Leave my daughter alone." "Oh, Mrs. Martinez, you don't understand. Isabella doesn't want to be left alone. She wants to do the right thing for her family. She wants to protect you in the only way she can. You're forcing her." "We're not forcing anything. We just explain the available options. And there are only two. Isabella cooperates, or the three of you go through much more unpleasant experiences before you die." The line went dead. My hands were trembling so much I could barely hold the phone. That afternoon, Isabella came home in an even worse state. She was clearly in shock, moving like a robot, answering questions with monosyllables. During dinner, she barely touched her food, just pushed the salad around the plate with her fork. "Izzy, are you sure you don't want to talk about what's going on?" John tried one more time, his voice gentle and patient. Whatever is bothering you, we can solve it together. Isabella looked up, and what I saw in her eyes broke my heart. It was pure despair. Dad, if I told you what's happening, you'd try to protect me, wouldn't you? Of course, honey. That's what parents are for. And what if I told you the only way to protect me is to do nothing? That any attempt to help would just make everything infinitely worse. John frowned, clearly confused. Isabella, there's no problem that can't be solved. If someone is threatening you, you don't understand. Isabella screamed, getting up from the table. Abruptly, she knocked over her glass of water. You have no idea what kind of people I'm dealing with. You have no idea what they're capable of. Then tell us, John pleaded. Let us help. Isabella looked at me, and in that moment I saw a silent war happening behind her eyes. She wanted to tell us, desperately wanted to tell us, but the fear was stronger than anything. I can't, her voice broke. If I tell you, you're going to die, and it will be my fault. She ran up to her room, leaving us in devastating silence. John turned to me, his expression a mixture of confusion and growing alarm. Carla, what did she mean by die? What kind of trouble is our daughter in? I opened my mouth, closed it, opened it again. The words just wouldn't come. You know, don't you? John said slowly, his eyes narrowing. You know exactly what she's talking about. John, how long have you known that our daughter is being threatened? His voice was getting louder and more desperate. How long have you been keeping this a secret? Before I could answer, we heard a noise upstairs. Fast footsteps, doors being opened and closed. We ran up the stairs and found Isabella throwing clothes into a backpack. What are you doing? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Running away. She didn't stop packing. It's the only option left. Isabella, you can't run away. Wherever you go, you'll find me. Maybe, but at least you'll be safe. John was watching our conversation with growing horror. Will someone please explain what the hell is going on here? Isabella stopped packing and looked at her father. For a moment, I saw the scared child she really was behind all that bravado. Dad, I'm sorry for what I was planning to do to you, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. I thought it was the only way to protect you. And then she finished packing, walked past us like a ghost, and went down the stairs. We heard the front door close, and our daughter disappeared into the Californian night. John turned to me, his face white with shock. Carla, I swear to God, if you don't tell me what's happening right now, I'm calling the police. But what could I say? That our daughter had planned to murder us to save us from something worse? That she was being controlled by a criminal organization that had contacts everywhere? That we might never see her alive again? All I could do was collapse onto the hallway floor and cry as I had never cried in my life, knowing that my family had just been completely shattered. John didn't sleep all night. After I told him everything, the messages, the photos, the threats, Isabella's plan to kill us, he spent hours pacing the house like a caged animal, alternating between rage, despair, and a terrifying determination. 20 years, he repeated, running his hands through his hair. 20 years of believing I knew my family would protect you. John, this isn't your fault. It's not? He turned to me, his eyes bloodshot. Our daughter has been tortured by criminals for 6 months, and I didn't notice a thing. She was planning to kill us to save us, and I thought it was just teenage drama. At 6 in the morning, he made a decision that terrified me. I'm going to find a private detective. Someone who specializes in cases like this. John, they said they have contacts everywhere. Then we'll find someone from outside, someone they won't expect. He grabbed his laptop and started researching. There are detectives who specialize in criminal organizations, people who know how to deal with this kind of situation. 3 hours later, we were sitting in the office of Marcus Chen, a former federal agent who now worked as a private investigator. His office was in a discreet building in downtown San Diego, far from the upscale neighborhood where we lived. Chen was a middle-aged man with dark hair and streaks of gray, a serious expression, and eyes that seemed to have seen too much. When we finished telling our story, he remained silent for long minutes. Do you have any idea who you're dealing with? He finally asked. No, John admitted. We just know they call themselves something that starts with V, and that they're dangerous enough to terrify our daughter to the point where she planned to kill us. Chen opened a folder and showed us some photos. Do you recognize any of these faces? I examined the images. They were men of various ages, some with visible tattoos, others who looked like ordinary businessmen. And then I saw a face that made my heart stop. That one. He was in one of the photos in Isabella's room. Chen nodded gravely. Vincent Kozlov, leader of one of the most dangerous criminal organizations on the West Coast. They specialize in human trafficking, drugs, and extortion. They use children and teenagers for the dirty work because they know the legal system is more lenient with criminals. Dirty work like murder? John asked, his voice almost a whisper. Among other things, they find vulnerable young people, usually from upper-middle-class families, and lure them in with promises of independence and adventure. Once the child is involved, there's no way out. I felt nausea rising in my throat. What about the police? The FBI? Kozlov has an impressive network of informants. Corrupt cops, judicial officials, even federal agents. That's why he's never been arrested despite decades of criminal activity. So there's nothing we can do? I asked desperately. Chen leaned forward. I didn't say that. There are ways to deal with people like Kozlov, but they're dangerous and there's no guarantee of success. We're willing to try anything, John said immediately. The first thing we need to do is find Isabella before it's too late. If she ran away, Kozlov will interpret that as betrayal. And the punishment for betrayal in that organization is death. My vision blurred. How much time do we have? Not much. A few hours, maybe a day at most. Chen started taking notes. Do you have any idea what she might be? John and I looked at each other. She always liked the beach, I offered weakly. She used to go to Sunset Cliffs when she was stressed. I'll have people check it out. But we need to consider the possibility that they've already found her. Chen's cell phone rang. He answered quickly, his expression growing more tense with each passing second. I understand. Yes, confirm the address. Hung up and looked at his screen. A teenage girl was seen being forced into a black van near the La Jolla shopping center 2 hours ago. The description matches Isabella. Probably, which means the game has now completely changed. Chen stood up. Kozlov will use Isabella as bait to lure you in. He'll want to finish what he started, but his way. What does that mean? John asked. It means you're going to get a call very soon. Kozlov will set up a meeting, probably in an isolated location. He'll say that if you come alone, he'll let Isabella go. It's a lie, of course. So what do? Chen opened another drawer and took out some equipment I couldn't identify. We make our own plan. If Kozlov wants to play, we'll play. But by our rules, John's phone, unknown number. Chen signaled for his friends. Hello? Mr. Martinez. It was the same voice that had called me before. But now there was a cruel satisfaction in it. I believe you're missing something. Where is my daughter? Isabella is safe for now, but she made a serious mistake by trying to run from her responsibilities. What do you want? What we've always wanted, for the Martinez family to disappear. Isabella understood that was the only option, but she lost her nerve at the last moment. John took a deep breath. If you hurt my daughter, Mr. Martinez, you're not in a position to make threats. But I'm a reasonable man. I'll give you one last chance to resolve this as a family. How? Tonight at 10 o'clock. Come to the abandoned warehouse at 847 Industrial Street. Come alone. If you bring the police or any help, Isabella dies in front of you before you also die. Chen was typing furiously on his laptop. 847 Industrial. I know that place. It's been their territory for years. It's a trap, John said. Of course it is. But it's also our chance. Chen showed us the computer screen. This warehouse has several entrances. If we do this right, we can get Isabella out of there and still give the police enough evidence to arrest Carson. And what if we mess up? Chen looked me directly in the eyes. If we mess up, the three of you die tonight. But if we don't try anything, Isabella will certainly die. And you probably will too. It was an impossible choice. But looking at John, I saw that he had already decided. What kind of plan do you have in mind? He asked. And as terrifying as it was, I felt a spark of hope for the first time in days. Maybe there was still a chance to save our family. The warehouse on Industrial Street looked like something out of a nightmare. A grey concrete building with broken windows, surrounded by vacant lots that faded into the darkness. At 9:40 at night, John and I were parked 2 blocks away. Our hearts pounding so hard, I could hear the blood pulsing in my ears. Chen had equipped us with tiny microphones hidden in our clothes and given us precise instructions. His team was positioned at strategic points around the building, but far enough away not to be detected. The plan was simple in theory. Go in, keep Kozlov talking as much as possible for the recordings, locate Isabella, and get out alive. In practice, we knew it was more like a suicide mission. We can still back out, John said for the 100th time, but his voice was firm. He wasn't going to give up no matter what. Our daughter is in there, he replied, checking the small emergency device Chen had given us one more time. We're not going to abandon her. We walked the 2 blocks inside. Every step on the cracked pavement sounded like a gunshot in the quiet of the night. The industrial area was deserted at this hour, with only a few distant streetlights creating yellow circles in the darkness. The main door of the warehouse was ajar. A faint light came from inside. John held my hand one last time before we pushed the door open. The interior was even more frightening than it seemed. Piles of old boxes created a labyrinth of shadows. Rusty chains hung from the ceiling. And in the center of it all, under the only working lamp, was a circle and a chair. Isabella was carried to one end. My first instinct was to run to her, but John held me back by the arm. Something was wrong. Isabella was conscious, but her eyes were glazed over, as if she were under the influence of some drug, and there was dried blood at the corner of her mouth. Punctual, a voice echoed from the shadows. I appreciate that in business partners. Vincent Kozlov emerged from the darkness like a predator. He was older than the photos showed, maybe in his early 50s, but his muscles showed he was still dangerous. He wore an expensive suit that grotesquely contrasted with the sordid environment. Let my daughter go, John said, his voice surprisingly steady. Straight to the point. I like that too. Kozlov approached Isabella and ran his hand through her hair in a way that made me want to vomit. But first, We need to have a little chat
on
about
the
loyalty.
mountain path.
We did what you asked.
Betrayal.
We came alone. Oh, but you didn't,
The
did you?
love that seemed
Kozlov
like a
smiled,
rock
and it
turned
was
to
the
sand
boldest
in
thing
my
I'd ever
hand.
seen.
The
Mr.
promise
Chen and his team are very professional,
broken.
but not
A
as
whisper
discreet as
from
they think.
John.
My blood
Pretend
ran
to
cold.
be dead.
How did he know? Don't worry, Kozlov
But the
continued,
truth,
noticing
my
that
love, is
expression.
there was no blood
I left
in
them
the
alive, for now. But your little recording
The fall from the
devices
cliff
aren't going
was
to help much when
nothing
everyone is dead.
compared to
He
what
gestured
our
and four
daughter
men
hid.
came out
Was
of
it
the
the
shadows,
daughter-in-law?
all
No, our
armed.
own flesh
It
and
was clear there would
blood
be
to
no
whom our
negotiation.
heart was
Mom?
given.
Isabella's voice was weak, confused.
The forgotten
You shouldn't have
cell
come.
phone, a note
Of
on the
course we
fridge.
came, honey,
The
I
message is
managed
a
to say,
nightmare, the
trying to
truest
keep my voice
reality.
calm
It's
despite the
them or
terror.
you, the accusation,
We're
the
a
plan
family.
to kill us. My Izzy, who I
family,
loved
Kozlov repeated as if
unconditionally,
the word were
wanting
funny.
to take my breath
Isabella spent months
away.
telling me about her perfect
mechanical
family.
hug,
How you
her
loved her
distant eyes,
unconditionally.
a coldness
How you would do
in her
anything for her.
gaze. She
And
was
we
no
would,
longer my
John
little
said,
girl. She was a
including
ghost
die,
haunting me.
if necessary. Kozlov laughed.
On the
How
mountain
touching.
path,
But the truth
your
is,
betrayal
Isabella is no longer your daughter. For months
The
she has
love
belonged
that
to
seemed
me.
like a
She's
rock
done things
turned
for
to
me that you could
sand.
never imagine
The
your perfect
promise
little girl was capable of.
broken.
It doesn't
A
matter what
whisper
she
from
did, he
John.
said, finding courage I didn't know I had. We still love her, even knowing
But
she
the
killed
truth,
people
my
for me.
love, is that there was
The
no
words
blood
stopped.
in the air.
I looked at Isabella, expecting her to
The
deny
fall
it,
from
to
the
explain.
cliff was nothing
But she just lowered her head,
compared to
tears
what our
silently
daughter
streaming
hid.
down her
Was
face.
it the daughter-in-law?
Izzy, I
No,
whispered.
our own flesh and
I didn't
blood
want to,
to whom
she
our
managed to say.
heart
They
was
forced me.
given.
They said if I didn't do it, you would die.
The darkness of the warehouse, the
clapped
smell of
slowly.
sweat and blood.
3
Your
people
eyes
did.
is the empty
Two
of
who
pain.
were
Your
trying to
courage
leave the
so
organization,
great. I become a
and one
killer,
who
you
owed
told
me
me.
money.
No whisper in
Isabella
tears, but you
discovered
saved
she has a
yourself, my
knack for
daughter. You
dirty
saved
work.
us from a fiery
I
fate.
felt as
Now
if
in
the
Portland,
ground had
the
opened up
roses,
beneath
a
my
new
feet.
chance, a new
My daughter, my sweet and innocent girl, had
But
taken
the pain
lives.
is in
But
every
looking at her,
petal,
so small,
in
so broken,
every
so
new
clearly traumatized, I could only feel compassion. You destroyed her, John said, his voice filled with a rage I had never seen before. I set her free, Kozlov corrected. I set her free from the illusion that she was a good girl, and showed her what she's really capable of. Isabella, I called softly. Look at me, honey. She looked up at me, and what I saw in her eyes broke my heart. It was absolute despair, as if she had lost all hope of salvation. Doesn't matter what you did. It doesn't matter what they forced you to do. You are still our daughter. We still love you, and we're going to get you out of here. What a touching scene, Kozlov said. But it's time to end this family reunion. He gestured again, and the armed men approached. But then something unexpected happened. Isabella, who seemed semi-conscious, suddenly threw herself out of the chair, knocking over the lamp and plunging the warehouse into near total darkness. "Run!" she screamed. Chaos erupted. Shots echoed in the confined space. John pulled me behind a pile of boxes as flashlight beams cut through the darkness. I could hear Kozlov screaming orders in a language I didn't recognize. "Isabella!" I yelled, but there was no response. Suddenly, powerful lights illuminated the warehouse. Chen's team had arrived, and the gunfire intensified. I tried to see Isabella through the chaos, but it was impossible to make anything out in the confusion of shadows and lights. When the shots finally stopped, deafening silence took over the warehouse. Chen appeared beside us. "Are you hurt? Where's Isabella?" John asked desperately. Chen pointed to the furthest corner of the warehouse. There was my daughter, kneeling beside Vincent Kozlov's motionless body. In her hands was a gun. I approached slowly. "Izzy?" She looked up at me, and for the first time in months, I saw my real daughter behind all that trauma.
forgotten
I killed him, Ma,
a
she
note on the
whispered.
fridge.
When the lights went out,
message is a
I grabbed one
nightmare,
of the men's
truest
guns.
reality. It's them or
killed
you,
him.
the accusation,
It's okay,
the
I
plan to
said,
kill
kneeling
us.
beside
My
her.
Izzy, whom I
It's all
loved
right.
unconditionally,
No, it's not okay.
wanting to
I became
take my
exactly
breath
what he wanted me to be.
away.
A murderer.
Her mechanical
John Milk
hug,
on her other
her
side.
distant
Honey,
eyes,
you
the
saved us.
coldness in
You
her
saved yourself.
gaze. She was
Sometimes
no longer
doing
my
the right
little girl.
thing isn't
She
the
was
same
a
as doing
ghost
the
haunting
clean thing.
me.
Isabella
On the
collapsed between
mountain
us,
path,
finally
your
allowing us to hug her.
betrayal
Her body was trembling violently,
The love
and I
that
could
seemed
feel
like
years
a
of trauma
rock
being
turned to
released in
sand
that
mud.
embrace.
The promise
I'm so sorry, she sobbed,
broken.
I'm so
A whisper
sorry for
from
everything.
John.
for planning to hurt
Pretend
you,
to
for killing
be
people, for becoming this.
dead.
You didn't
But
become
the
anything,
truth, my
I
love,
said
is that
firmly.
there was no
You
blood in
survived,
the air.
and now we're going to help you heal.
The fall
As we
from the
held our broken
cliff was
daughter in our
nothing
arms, surrounded by the chaos of a war that had finally ended, I knew our journey was far from over. Isabella would carry the scars forever. We all would, but for the first time in months, I had hope
The
that we could
darkness of the
defend.
warehouse, the smell of sweat and
The
blood.
sirens
Your
of the
eyes is
ambulance
the
and
empty
police
of
cars
pain. Your
created
courage
a
so great.
deafening
I become a
symphony in the
killer. You
San Diego
told me
dawn.
in a
The
whisper in
warehouse
tears,
that had
but you
been
saved
our
yourself,
personal
my daughter.
hell
You saved us
was
from
now
a fiery
illuminated by
fate. Now in
incessantly
Portland,
flashing red
the
and blue
roses,
lights,
a new chance, a
turning
new
everything into a surreal
home.
scene.
But the pain
Isabella
is in
was sitting in the
every
back of the
petal,
ambulance, a
in
thermal blanket wrapped
every
around her
new
shoulders,
blade.
while a paramedic checked her
On the
injuries.
mountain
Physically,
path,
she was
the end
relatively
of
fine.
illusion
A few cuts and
of
bruises,
fall.
nothing that
The
wouldn't heal.
love that seemed
But her
like a
eyes told a
rock
different
is the
story.
truth
They were
that
vacant, as if an essential
completes
part of her had been lost in that
me. A
warehouse.
whisper from
Mrs.
John,
Martinez,
we'll
I'm
be
going to need
okay
you and your husband to come to the police station to give a statement, said
And the
Detective
truth, my
Williams,
love, is
a
that
middle-aged
life
black
goes
man
on.
with a
We just
compassionate
had to
expression.
want it to.
And Isabella,
The fall
too,
from the
as soon as the
cliff was
doctors released her.
nothing, because we
She's just a
found each
child, I
other.
protested,
Not in
though I
time,
knew
but
the words sounded
together.
hollow.
With the love
After everything that had happened,
prevailed.
Isabella was no longer a child. Maybe she never would be again. I understand, ma'am, but she killed a man, even if it was in self-defense. There are protocols we need to follow. John was talking in a low voice with Chen a few feet away. I could catch fragments of the conversation, other members of the organization. There could be retaliation, witness protection. Each word was like a stab, a reminder that our nightmare was far from over. 3 hours later, we were at the San Diego Central Police Station. The interrogation room was small, claustrophobic, with peeling beige walls and a scratched metal table. Isabella was sitting between me and John, her hands trembling slightly as she answered the detective's questions. Isabella, can you tell us how you got involved with Vincent Kozlov's organization? Her voice came out as a whisper. It was at a party 8 months ago. A friend took me, said it would be fun to meet older, more interesting people. And then, they were charming. They made me feel special, grown up. Vincent said I had potential for great things. Isabella stopped, swallowing hard. I didn't realize it was a trap until it was too late. When did you realize you couldn't get out? When I tried to stop going to their meetings, they showed me photos of our house. Photos of you two leaving for work, coming home. They said if I didn't cooperate, you would die. Detective Williams made a few notes. And about the other incidents. The people that I killed. Isabella finished the sentence with a coldness that sent a shiver down my spine. 3 people. The first was the worst. A girl my age who tried to escape the organization. They said if I didn't, they would do terrible things to her before killing her anyway. At least my way would be quick. Tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. My daughter had carried this burden alone for months. She had made impossible decisions to protect people she barely knew and to protect our family. Isabella, the detective said gently, do you understand that even considering the circumstances, we'll have to prosecute this case? I understand. I deserve to be punished. No, John said firmly. You don't deserve it. You were the victim of extreme coercion. Any decent court will consider it. But Isabella's eyes remained vacant. It was as if she had accepted that her life had ended in that warehouse, along with Vincent Osborne. We left the police station as the sun was already high. The world continued to spin normally. Cars drove by, people walked on the sidewalks, children played in the parks. It was surreal how life could seem so normal when our existence had been completely destroyed. On the way home, we received the first call. Mr. Martinez. The voice was female, young, but there was something sinister about it. I'm so sorry about Vincent's loss. He was special to our organization. John almost lost control of the wheel. Who are you? Someone who's going to make sure Isabella pays for what she did. Vincent had a lot of friends. Friends who don't like to see unfinished business. The call was cut off, but the message was clear. Kozlov was dead, but the organization still existed. And they wanted revenge. Chen met us at home an hour later, his grave expression confirming our worst fears. Kozlov's organization is bigger than we thought, he said, spreading photos and documents on our kitchen table. He was just one of the leaders. There are at least 3 others running operations on the West Coast. What does that mean for Isabella? I asked. It means she's become their #1 target. Killing a leader of the organization is a crime they don't forgive. Isabella, who had remained silent since we got home, finally spoke. So I brought this on our family. Even trying to protect you, I ended up putting everyone in danger. This isn't your fault, I said, but she shook her head. Yes, it is. Everything is my fault. If I had never gone to that party, if I was smarter, if I was stronger. Isabella, stop, John interrupted. You were 16 when you started. You were a child being manipulated by professional predators. But now I'm 17 and I've killed 4 people. Her voice was completely devoid of emotion. I'm not a child anymore. I'm a killer, Chen reinforced. Isabella, you need to understand one thing. Vincent Kozlov was responsible for hundreds of deaths. Human trafficking, drugs, extortion. By killing him, you probably saved dozens of lives. That doesn't bring back the people I killed before. No, Chen agreed. But it means you can choose to be different from now on. Isabella laughed, but it was a bitter sound. Choose? You don't get it. There's no future for me. Even if the police don't arrest me, this organization will find me. And when they do, it won't just be me they do terrible things to. She got up from the table and started walking towards the stairs, but stopped and turned to us. Maybe I should have gone through with the original plan. At least she would have died without knowing the truth about who I've become. And with those devastating words, she went up to her room, leaving us on a heavy sigh. John and I looked at each other. We had saved our daughter from the criminal organization, but we were losing her to something much worse, absolute despair. Chen closed the document folder. There are witness protection programs, new lives, new identities. You could start over and abandon everything, our careers, our friends, our entire lives. It's better than the alternative, Chen said simply. Later that night, while John made calls to lawyers, and I tried to process everything that happened, I heard a noise coming from Isabella's room. I ran up the stairs and found the door locked. Izzy, are you okay? Silence. Isabella, please open the door. Go away, her voice was muffled. Leave me alone. feeling the weight of all the secrets, all the lies, all the pain our family had faced. Honey, I know you think there's no hope. I know you feel like you've lost who you were, but there's still a chance for us to rebuild our lives. There's no way to rebuild after everything I've done. Yes, there is. It may not be the same life. It may not be easy, but there is. The silence on the other side of the door stretched for so long that I thought she wouldn't. Then, very softly, I heard, I don't know how to go back to being the person I was before. Maybe you don't have to go back, I replied. Maybe you need to find out who you can become now. It was a conversation through a locked door, but somehow I felt it was the first real step toward our family's healing. 2 weeks later, we found Isabella in the upstairs bathroom, passed out on the cold floor with an empty pill bottle beside her. The ambulance arrived in 6 minutes, but they were the longest 6 minutes of my life. As the paramedics worked to stabilize her, I held her cold hand and repeated like a mantra, "Don't leave me, honey. Please don't leave me." At the hospital, after a stomach pump and intensive care, Isabella finally opened her eyes. The first look she gave me was one of pure disappointment that she was still alive. "Why did you save me?" she whispered, her voice hoarse from the tubes. "I just wanted the pain to stop." "Because we love you," John replied, sitting on the other side of the bed. "And we're not giving up on you. You should. It would be easier for everyone." Dr. Sarah Reeves, the hospital's psychiatrist, entered the room at that moment. She was a woman in her 50s with graying hair in a bun and kind but firm eyes. "Isabella, I'm Dr. Reeves. I'll be taking care of you for the next few days." "You don't need to take care of me. You just need to let me go." "That's exactly why you need care." Dr. Reeves pulled a chair up to the bed. "Isabella, you've been through traumas that few adults could endure. What you're feeling now is a normal response to abnormal circumstances." "Normal?" Isabella laughed, but it was a humorless sound. "There's nothing normal about killing people. There's nothing normal about what I've become." "You're right. There's nothing normal about what you were forced to do. But there's something very normal about your response to it. Guilt, shame, despair. Those are feelings we can work on." "Work on?" Isabella turned to face the wall. "Doctor, you don't understand. I'm not a victim who needs therapy. I'm a murderer who needs to be punished." Dr. Reeves exchanged a meaningful glance with us. "Isabella, can I tell you a story? A few years ago, I treated a soldier who came back from Afghanistan. He had killed enemies in combat, but also civilians accidentally during a bombing. He came here convinced he was a monster." Isabella didn't answer, but I could tell she was listening. It took him 2 years to understand that carrying guilt for actions taken under extreme coercion is different from being guilty for those actions. It took him another year to forgive himself. Forgive himself. Today he works with veterans who have been through similar traumas. He turned his pain into purpose. I spent the next 3 days practically living at the hospital. Isabella was under constant observation in a psychiatric ward with windows that didn't open and doors that remained locked. Seeing my daughter in that cold clinical environment was like having my heart ripped from my chest repeatedly. On the 3rd day, Chen visited us at the hospital with news. "We reached an agreement with the prosecution," he said, keeping his voice low so Isabella, who was sleeping, couldn't hear. Considering her age, the extreme coercion, and the fact that she helped dismantle a criminal organization, she will be treated as a protected witness, not a criminal. "What does that mean?" I asked. "No prison." but she will have to testify against the remaining members of the organization when we go to trial. And you will have to enter the witness protection program. John sighed deeply. New identities, new city, new jobs. You will cease to be the Martinez family forever. When we told Isabella, her reaction was unexpected. Instead of relief, she seemed even more desperate. You're going to have to abandon your entire lives because of me, she said. Your jobs, friends, memories, everything you've built will be destroyed because of my mistakes. Isabella, they're not your mistakes, I insisted. And we're not losing anything important. Our family is what matters. Family? She looked at me with an expression that chilled me. Mom, look at where we are. Look at what we've become. This isn't funny. It's a tragedy. Dr. Reeves, who had been listening to our conversation, approached. Isabella, can I ask you a question? If a friend of yours had gone through the same thing you did, what would you say to her? That it wasn't her fault. And if she had done the same things you did, Isabella hesitated. That she didn't have a choice. And why can't you apply the same compassion to yourself? Because it's different when it's me. Why? Because I should have been stronger. I should have found another way out. Dr. Reeves sat on the edge of the bed. Isabella, you were 16 when you started. You were dealing with professional manipulators who had decades of experience in breaking people. What other way out could a teenager have found? For the first time since everything had started, I saw genuine tears in Isabella's eyes. Not tears of despair, but tears of recognition. I was just a child, she whispered. You were just a child, Dr. Reeves confirmed. A child who did the best she could under impossible circumstances. Isabella then cried, like she hadn't cried since she was little. She cried for her lost innocence, for the choices she was forced to make, for the lives that were lost. John and I hugged her, and for the first time in months, we felt like we were hugging our real daughter. I want to try, she said between sobs. I want to try to heal. I want to try to be a good person again. You never stopped being a good person, John said. You just lost sight of it for a while. Dr. Reeves explained to us that the recovery would be long and difficult. There would be intensive therapy, medication for depression and post-traumatic stress disorder, and likely years of work to rebuild Isabella's self-esteem. But is it possible? Can she make a full recovery? Full recovery is a complicated term, Dr. Reeves answered honestly. Isabella will always carry these experiences, but she can learn to live with them in a healthy way. She can find purpose, happiness, love. She can have a full life. A week later, we left the hospital as a different family than we had been before. Isabella was still fragile, still had bad days, but there was a light in her eyes that I hadn't seen for months. It was the light of hope as we packed up our house in La Jolla, getting ready for our new life in a place we didn't even know where it would be. Isabella found an old photo. Can I take this? She asked. I know I can't be those people again, but I want to remember that we used to be happy. Of course, I replied, and we will be happy again. Maybe in a different way, maybe with scars, but we will. Isabella nodded, holding the album against her chest. I think I'm ready to find out who I can be now. And in that moment, even surrounded by moving boxes and uncertainties about the future, I knew our family was going to survive. Not intact, not without marks, but alive and determined to heal. A year later, I was standing on the porch of our new house in Portland, Oregon, watching Isabella plant roses in the front garden. Her movements were careful, deliberate, as if each flower were a small promise that beautiful things could still grow, even after so much destruction. We were no longer the Martinez family from La Jolla. Now we were the Thompsons, Carla, John, and Isabel Thompson. New names, new documents, carefully constructed stories to hide who we had been. But underneath those fake identities, we were still the same people trying to figure out how to love and trust again. The transformation was neither magical nor quick. There were nights when I found Isabella sitting on the bathroom floor, trembling after nightmares when she relived every death she had caused. There were days when John locked himself in the makeshift office in our bedroom, crying over a 20-year career he had to abandon. And there were moments when I myself questioned whether we had made the right choices. But there were also small victories that meant everything. The first time Isabella smiled genuinely, 3 months after we arrived in Portland. It was when she saw a stray dog in the park and asked if we could adopt it. I think it would be good to take care of something that needs a second chance, she said. And so Max, an 8-year-old golden retriever with graying fur and kind eyes, became part of our family. The first time she was able to sleep through the night without nightmares. 4 months later, I woke up at 3 in the morning in a panic, as I did every night, and ran to her room, expecting to find her awake and cold sweating. Instead, she was sleeping peacefully. Max curled up at her feet like a furry guardian. The first time she talked about the future, 6 months later, I've been thinking about studying psychology, she said during dinner. Maybe I can help other kids who have been through similar things. John and I looked at her, seeing in her not just our daughter, but a brave young woman determined to turn her pain into purpose. And today, exactly 1 year after our arrival in Portland, she was planting roses. "Mom, come help me," she called, her brown hair shining in the afternoon sun. The trauma was still there. I saw it in the almost invisible scars on her arms, in the way she still checked locks 3 times before going to sleep, in the moments of absence that sometimes took over her. But there was something new too: strength, determination, a fragile but real peace. I knelt beside her in the dance hall. "What kind of rose is this?" "Knockout rose," she said, smiling at the mirror. "I read they're resilient. They bloom all year, and they can survive in almost any condition. Seems appropriate for our family." Isabella stopped digging and looked at me. "Mom, can I tell you something?" "Always." Yesterday I had a tough session with Dr. Martinez. Yes, our new therapist had the same last name we used to have. The universe sometimes has a cruel sense of humor. We talked about forgiveness. My heart raced. This was always a delicate topic. And how did it go? She asked me if I could forgive the people who hurt me. And I said yes, I was working on it. Then she asked me if I could forgive the people I killed. And I said I was trying to understand that they were already dead before I got there. That Kozlov had killed their humanity long before I killed their bodies. I swallowed hard, waiting for her to continue. But then she asked the hardest question: if I could forgive you and Dad. Forgive us? For what? For not realizing what was happening to me. For not saving me before it was too late. The words were like a punch to the gut. John and I carried that guilt every day. How did we not notice? How did we let our daughter suffer alone for so long? And what did you answer? Isabella took my hand with her dirt-stained fingers. I said that you saved me in the only way that mattered. But when you found out the truth, you didn't abandon me. You didn't judge me. You just loved me. She paused, tears shining in her eyes. And then Dr. Martinez asked the hardest question of all.
The message
Which
is a
one?
nightmare, the truest
If I could
reality.
forgive myself.
It's them or you, the
The
accusation,
garden
the
went
plan to
silent,
kill us.
except
My
for the
Izzy, whom
distant
I loved
sound of children playing in the
unconditionally,
street,
wanting to
and the
take my
soft
breath
rustle of Max
away.
chasing butterflies
Her
in the yard.
mechanical hug,
And
her
can
distant
you?
eyes,
I
the
asked softly.
coldness in her
I'm learning.
gaze.
Isabella
She
went
was
back
no
to digging,
longer my
planting
little
the rose
girl.
with
She was a
infinite care.
ghost haunting me.
I'm learning that the girl who planned to kill
On
you
the
and the woman who's
mountain
planting flowers
path,
today
your
are the same person. And that doesn't make either of them any less real. John appeared on the porch, coming home from his new job as a legal consultant for a non-profit that helped refugees. It wasn't the glamorous career he had before, but he said he finally felt his work had real meaning. How are my favorite gardeners doing? He asked, coming down the steps to join us. Planting hope, Isabella replied, and the poetic simplicity of the answer made me smile. That night, after dinner, the three of us were in the living room watching a movie when Isabella asked a question that caught me off guard. Do you miss who we were before? John paused the movie. What do you mean? The perfect La Jolla family. The life without complications. When I was just your prodigy daughter and not a trauma survivor. John and I looked at each other. It was a question that had hung over us for months, but no one had the courage to ask. Sometimes, John answered honestly, I miss the simplicity, the feeling of security. I miss believing the world was a safe place, I added. I miss when my biggest concern was whether you were eating enough vegetables. Isabella nodded. I miss who I was. That girl who believed she could be anything, do anything. We were silent for a moment, honoring the collective loss of our innocence. But Isabella continued, I don't think I want to go back. Why not? I asked. Because that perfect La Jolla family was built on an illusion. The illusion that bad things don't happen to good people. That love is enough to protect someone from everything. She turned to face us. This family, the Thompson family, is built on truth, on knowing the worst parts of ourselves and still choosing to stick together. And you prefer the truth? John asked. I prefer the truth, even if it hurts. Because love based on truth is stronger than love based on illusion. Later, when Isabella went upstairs to sleep, John and I were left alone in the living room. She's right, you know, he said, about preferring the truth. What do you mean? Carla, the three of us went through hell. We saw the worst aspects of humanity. We were forced to make decisions we never imagined having to make. He took my hand. But look at us. Look at our daughter. We didn't just survive. We're thriving in a way we never thrived before. He was right. Today's Isabella, even with all her scars, was braver, more compassionate, more genuine than the perfect girl we raised in La Jolla. John had found real purpose in his work, and I had discovered a strength I never knew I possessed. It still hurts, I say. I still wake up some nights thinking about everything I lost. Me too. But when I wake up, I look at you, I look at Isabella, and I remember what we gained. What did we gain? Each other. For real this time. Without masks, without artificial perfection. Just true love for real, imperfect people. The next morning I found a note from Isabella on the fridge. Mom and Dad, thank you for saving me. Not just from the organization, but from myself. Yesterday I realized something. The biggest challenge isn't forgiving others, but forgiving yourself. I'm learning to do that every day. I love you. Izzy or Isabel, I'm still deciding who I want to be. I smiled through my tears. Our girl was finding her way back to the light, one day at a time. 3 years have passed since then. Isabella is now in college studying psychology, working part-time at a center for at-risk youth. John is the director of the non-profit where he works. I went back to teaching, this time for adults who are starting their lives over. We're not perfect. Isabella still has occasional nightmares. John sometimes gets lost in thought about the career he left behind. And I still check logs obsessively. But we are real, we are true, and we are a family that chose to stay together, not because it was easy, but because it was right. Yesterday, Isabella called me from college. Mom, do you remember those roses we planted our first year in Portland? Of course, why? I walked by them yesterday. They're still blooming. After all those winters, all those storms, they're still there. They're still beautiful. Like us, I said. Like us, she agreed. And in that moment, I knew we had made it. Not just survived, but blossomed. Like those resilient roses, we had found a way to be beautiful, even after so much pain. The biggest challenge isn't forgiving others, but forgiving yourself. And sometimes when you can do that, you find that you can blossom in places you never imagined possible. If this story touched your heart, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Share in the comments. Do you believe it's possible to rebuild a family after such destruction? Your opinion is important to us. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next real stories that can change your perspective on love, family, forgiveness, and second chances.